Today, I am so excited because I have a guest that I've been wanting to interview for such a long time because she is amazing. She's a celebrity, and anybody who is a castaway on an island for 39 days with snakes and spiders and little to no food, she's a hero to me. So, welcome to the Energized Leader Podcast, Holly Hoffman.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and share my story and some of my insight about what it was really like to be dropped off in a jungle.
I can't even begin to imagine. So, I guess first I have to ask you why.
I get that question a lot. All of our kids left for college, and I was sitting at the kitchen counter and I was watching Survivor Samoa. And I had watched Survivor before, but I never, ever thought about playing or even applying for the show. And it was almost like an instant, you know what? I should just try this. So I made a video and it was nothing special at all. I did one video. I didn't have a script and I sent it in and I thought, we'll just see what happens. So it was kind of off the cuff type of thing. And when you say why, I think it was I was searching for something because all of our kids were off to college and I was a stay-at-home mom. I coached swim team for 17 years. I was very, very involved with my children and I was going to be an empty nester. And I was like, I have to find something to do. And not that I didn't have things to do, but I think I was in that point in my life where I thought I need to make a change. I need to do something for myself. And I just took the chance and I sent in that video and they called me back and I was shocked.
I
I,
bet you were
I
shocked.
was shocked. I was very shocked.
Wow. So how long from when you found out were you on did the filming all start?
Well, when I sent in my video, it took about 8 months. I didn't hear from them for
Oh.
8 months. So I just kind of assumed, oh, they threw it aside and, I'm not going to have the opportunity. And when they called, like I said, I was shocked and I didn't even think it was true the first time they called. I actually thought somebody was playing a joke on me. And then they kept calling and calling and calling. And then they flew me to LA for a casting call. It took me about a year to get on the show because I had applied in May and then I left the following year in June for filming. So it was about a year that it took.
Wow, that's quite a process.
It
And
is.
then from then, when was it that you were dropped off on the island?
It was in, let's see, I applied in 2009, and then we filmed in 2000. So
Gotcha.
in 2010, in June is when we got there. But, the whole show, if you watch it, it just seems like they pick these people up and they drop them off. That's not exactly what happens. We were there for 6 nights before we even started filming. So we were at this resort in Nicaragua, but we couldn't talk to anyone. We couldn't look at anyone. We slept in these itty bitty tiny tents. So then, that kind of starts playing a little bit of a mind game on you as well. And so then it was the seventh day when we started filming.
Okay, so tell about that whole process because I mean, what did they give you? I mean, what I mean on that very first day, what happened?
Well, they actually loaded us up in this blacked out van, so we couldn't really see where we were going. And you have one set of clothes. You have a swimsuit, a water bottle, a bag, and a pair of shoes. That is it. And I remember sitting in that van thinking, oh my gosh, am I really going to do this? And my heart was pounding and I can't even really explain it. It was like, I was a little scared. I was scared. I was thinking, can I do this? I had to really talk to myself, just breathe, Holly, and just keep going. And then when we got out of that van, we had to like walk through the jungle and we had to step over all these branches and then we walked onto the beach and I was absolutely shocked with what I saw. I mean, there were at least 200 cameras in your face. There were photographers everywhere. So it was just like, is this really happening? It almost felt like I was dreaming. And so actually that season there were about over 100,000 people that applied and they picked 20 people for that season. So just to be standing there in front of all those cameras, Jeff Probst, who's the host of the show, it was like, am I really going to do this? And I do have to admit, I really started questioning myself from the very beginning, thinking, can I do this?
Well, from previous shows that you had watched, I mean, didn't you think this is going to be hard?
Yeah, I did. I did think it was gonna be hard, but I also thought it wasn't real. I'm like, I kind of had this vision in my mind. I thought, "I'm gonna walk out there and there's gonna be porta potties and campers and tents," and, I kind of had that vision. I'm like, "They really don't put these people through this, do they?" And I relate to that when I speak about my experience. I relate to that as, have you ever walked into that team meeting and you think it's gonna go one way and you walk out it with the complete opposite? And that's kinda how this was for me. I walked onto the beach and there was nothing. And then I started thinking, "This is real." So sometimes in life, we assume we have these assumptions that something is gonna go one way and it goes the complete opposite, and how do you handle that?
So I watched a couple clips last night, and I mean, you look like you were, desperate.
I was miserable.
So tell me, tell me the food situation, because I did see the part where your food was all burned up and you had no food. So, tell me about how did you survive?
Well, you see, our season was old versus young. It was the 40 and over tribe against the 30 and younger tribe. So that was kind of hard at the beginning because I really wasn't accepted. They kind of treated me like I was some hick, from South Dakota, and that was really hard because you rely on these people and then they turn on you. So even from the beginning, I just felt like I didn't fit in. The food source was horrible. The weather was terrible. We slept in the pouring rain for the first 17 nights.
Oh
And
my.
I'm going to back up because the food process was like on towards the end when we lost our food. But even at the beginning, we just didn't have food. They did give us a bucket of rice, and we would just boil the rice over the fire and probably eat like a quarter cup of rice a day. But I had a complete meltdown on day 5. I didn't want to be there. This is really odd, but when I think back to that, I was actually thinking of ways to get out of the show. I was thinking maybe I should fake a sprained ankle, or maybe I should fake I got hurt. That's how desperate I was. I was so desperate. And I truly just wasn't believing that I could do it. I wasn't believing in myself. And Jimmy Johnson, who is the former NFL football coach for the Dallas Cowboys, was on our tribe. And he took me aside. I actually asked him to talk to him, and he and I went over and we sat on this log.
I
And
watched that. I saw that. Yes.
yes, and that really was the turnaround for me in the game. And, Desi, in life, we're all sitting on that log at times. We all have those moments where we're on that log and we're questioning ourselves and we're questioning our careers, we're questioning our lives, we're questioning our everyday, what we're doing and if we're doing it right. But it's not about sitting on that log. It's about how you get back up from that log. And I think we all need to be inspired by other people. It's who's in our circle, who's going to encourage us. And I know the older I get, it's like my circle isn't as big as it used to be, but I think it's because you really concentrate on the people that are going to inspire you, and you really concentrate on the people that are going to lift you up. So that was a pivotal point in the game, is really getting up off that log and walking back to camp and saying, "You know what? I can do this."
What did he say to you?
He said, "Here you're playing a game for $1 million. That's what you get if you win. And your goal in this game is to vote people off, to get people out of the game." And here Jimmy Johnson and I are sitting on this log, and he says, "Holly, you don't seem like a quitter to me. And you're strong, you're tough, and we really, really need you." And it was those words that he said, "We really need you." And I think in life, people need to hear those inspiring words at times, because there are moments in the workplace, there are moments in life, there are moments with family, there's moments with friends that we all need a sense of purpose and we all need a sense of, we need you. So it was really when he said that to me, I was like, wow. Nobody's really said that to me, because I've always been there for other people. And now someone is there for me. So I just stood up from that log and I was like, I gotta play this game.
That is so inspiring. The power of the words that you can give to another person can literally change the whole atmosphere, it can change the whole situation and turn everything around. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Words are powerful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so talk about some of the challenges that you faced in the rainforest.
The hardest thing was I had zero communication with my family, and
Mm,
they didn't know if I was voted off. They didn't know if I was still in the game. So that was hard for them, and that was also very hard for me. But it was the not knowing, the uncertainty, where someone could look you straight in the eye and say, "I'm not going to vote you off." And then you go to tribal council where you vote people off and your name is put down on the paper. So that was really, really hard is how, it was the deceitfulness and the strategy for me, because I have a personality where I want people to get along. I want people to like me, and not everybody's going to. That's just a fact of life.
yeah.
So that was really hard. And then the rain, the weather was absolutely terrible. The food source was bad, but it was really that inner power that you had to pull in from the inside to the outside.
Mhm,
Yeah, so it
mhm.
was it was all the sleeping conditions were terrible. We slept on bamboo in the rain and yeah, it was just but you learn a lot about yourself when everything is taken away and when you're challenged.
I bet you came back home appreciating everything.
Everything,
Oh.
everything. I mean, just the smell of the fresh sheets in my bed and, just turning the lights on or, just sitting outside on the deck. It was the little things in life that we sometimes forget about.
What is the scariest thing that happened while you were there?
I would have to say I believe it was day 12, we had a huge storm come in. And they had producers come in and they were going to evacuate us, but the winds were just blowing. There was thunder and lightning. You just have nowhere to go. And I remember being in the shelter, and our shelter was poorly built, and the palm fronds on the top of the shelter started blowing off and ripping off the top. And I remember just taking my bag that I had, and I went around and I sat under this great big tree and I just rolled myself up into a ball, and I could just feel like the debris from the wind hitting my back. And that was scary. And that was like in the middle of the night. And then producers came in the next day and they were actually going to move us to a different location because it was so bad. And they didn't.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
you you lived to tell the story.
I did. Thank goodness.
Goodness. Well, what are some different strategies? I mean, I know that you have a framework that you share with people on how to survive life. Can you share a couple of those as to how you can help people even get through a day?
Yeah, I think it's all your mindset. It's all how you look at things and how you really, we all have challenges in life. We're all faced with challenges. If we go into those challenges already defeated, we're going to be defeated. But we're not always going to come out of those challenges as a winner. I didn't win this game, but I learned a lot. And I think, I say in my programs that I speak about, I say survival is too often our default, where thriving is not circumstantial, it's a
Mhm.
choice. And every day we have those choices. And, I have challenges in my life. You have challenges in your life. We all are faced with challenges. And it's like once you get over one challenge, there's going to be another. It's something in your job, something in your family, your water heater goes out in your house. But how do you look at those things? And I really think that the outlook and things is something that everybody needs to look at. Okay, how can I get through this? What did I learn? How did I grow? Even though it didn't go my way, what did I learn from this experience and how can I make myself better?
And it's all about perspective, your
Yeah.
attitude towards something, the way you look at things, and the lens you look through. And so, how can people have a better lens, or how can they change that mindset?
You know, a lot of times when you're challenged, you look at the negative side of it.
Mhm,
So I think negativity is something we all need to set aside and say, okay, how did I do this?
mhm,
How can I get through this? Relying on other people is so important. I relied on Jimmy Johnson in the game. I pulled him aside. And especially as women, and I'm not trying to just look at the women, and I know there are some men out there, but we always think that we can do it on our own. It is okay to ask for help. It's okay to sit down with someone. Let's talk about mental health. Mental health right now is a huge issue. And too many times people keep things inside where just ask one person, hey, I just need someone to talk to. There are so many outreaches right now, and it's okay. It's okay to ask someone for help. And I don't know, especially the older generation, we think that it's not okay, and it really is. And I grew up in an abusive home, and my mom kind of kept everything sheltered. We lived behind closed doors for many, many years. And my mom would always say, don't say anything, everything's going to be fine. And that's that older generation where
Yeah.
sometimes we need to open that door and we need to ask for help.
And asking for help is difficult to do because
It
it makes you feel like, well, I'm not good enough, smart enough, I'm not strong enough. But you become stronger when you do ask for help. And sometimes just asking for help is just like you said, just telling somebody what the issue is. And sometimes those people can put it into perspective for us because our brains make things so much bigger than what they really are. Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
when I'm speaking, I talk to people about drawing that line of negativity. Are you going to step over into it? I mean, you have a choice. Am I going to step over into it? And it's like, no, make the choice. One of the things that has helped me so much in life is when I do fall and I fail is to ask, what am I going to learn from this? What am I
Yeah.
going to learn from this? Even when years ago, I started out doing school assemblies and my daughter was my sound person. And I would always rate my school assemblies on a 1 to 10. Aaron, what was it? And, we would be really excited if it was a 10, but every now and then we'd have like a 8, every now and then it would be like a 7. And if it was, not a 10, why? And so what are we going to learn from this? What are we going to learn from this? And I even have adopted that into my life every day when things don't go the way they should. What am I going to learn from this that's going to take me forward? So, yeah, looking for the positive in all situations, not the Pollyanna thing, where it's like, la, 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 everything's positive. No, everybody faces a lot of bad stuff. But how can we take that situation and turn it so we can look at it from a different perspective and either, like you said, grow from it, learn from it, or how we can make the best of that situation.
Right, right. And I know one time I spoke and I had a lady come up to me and she said, are you saying that life is just supposed to be perfect? And I said, absolutely not. I said, it is not going to be perfect. And everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has
Yeah.
a challenge in their life, but you can look at it one way and say, poor me, or you can look at it another way and say, you know what? I'm going to reach out to a friend. I just need someone to talk to. And I do that in my own life. I get up and I inspire people on stage, but that's not my life off stage. I have many challenges. I have many things that I'm facing, but sometimes I have to give my speech to myself and say, "Okay, Holly, what do you talk about? What do you talk about? How do you turn that around?" It's all mindset. It's all how you're going to look at it.
It's funny that, of course, I talk about attitude in the workplace, and we had a situation at home not too long ago, and my family looked at me and said, "And how is your attitude?" I was like,
They
"Oh yeah, I gotta live what I preach here."
they
So
have
yeah,
a tendency to throw that back at you, don't they? My family does the same thing.
for sure, for sure. So, but every day is a survivor day.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, going back to asking for help is probably one of the best things that we can do. So I do have to ask you, I mean, did you encounter any snakes or weird things?
I did. I saw 3 snakes in the jungle, and soon as I saw them, I ran because I am deathly afraid of snakes, and they even asked me before I went out there, they said, "What are you afraid of?" And I said, "Snakes," and they said, You're gonna see snakes," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know," and I just, ran. So, we also heard howler monkeys. I did not see a monkey. There were some other people on my tribe that did see monkeys. I think they even showed a clip of that, but I never saw a monkey, but I heard him scream. If you ever hear a howler monkey scream, it's very scary, and it was very scary. we'd lay in the hut at night and you hear these howler monkeys screaming. And I would just think, oh my gosh, are they going to come and attack us or anything? But we also had rats come into our camp. And I know, and there was one night we had this huge rat come into our camp. And we were so hungry, Desi, that we actually got up and took rocks and tried to kill that rat. We were like, we're going to kill that rat and we're going to eat that thing. But we never did. We didn't kill it. But yeah, the desperation is horrible. But yes, we were encountered with a few monkeys and rats and snakes.
My goodness. No, I have snakes are my kryptonite. So no,
Mine too.
no, couldn't even apply for the show just because of that in itself. So did you eat fish a lot? Did you have actually go to the ocean and get fish?
Well, we tried, but we weren't very successful. We did was it the second day we caught, there were 10 of us still on the tribe because we didn't vote anyone off until the third day, but just these little itty bitty fish there, we caught like 2 of them. So we just weren't successful catching fish. And then when the storm came through that one night, I should say, it kind of washed out this river that was running down this mountain. Everything was washed out. It was horrible. The food source, production told us after we were done filming that when they filmed in Africa and our season were 2 of the worst food sources they have ever seen in the history of Survivor.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah.
you did look like you had a pretty good weight loss plan while you were there.
I lost 22 pounds.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, and it took me a while to, like, get my system back to eat. I got sick. I did end up in the hospital for 2 nights on IVs, but, that's just part of the game. It's all those things behind the scenes that people don't see, and, sometimes that's also in the workplace. It's all those behind the scenes that people don't see when they just think even as speakers, you just get up on stage and you
Yeah.
speak. No, there's a lot of work that you have to do before you get there.
For
So,
sure.
yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you should feel really good with the fact that you were the last woman standing.
I was the last woman standing. The last 5 people, it was me and 4 other guys, 4 other men. And when we went to tribal council that night, I actually thought they were going to vote me off, and we voted Dan off. So then I was left with 3 young gentlemen and myself. And if I was in a really tight alliance with 2 of them, and the one that we weren't in alliance with, he won the last challenge. So he was automatically in the final 3. And it was so odd as we were walking back to camp from that challenge. All I could think about was those guys are going to stick together and they're going to vote me off. And I tried to talk my way into staying. And I tried to talk Chase into not voting for me. But I still, as I was going to tribal council that night, I just had a feeling. And now our season was 39 days and I lasted 38 days.
That's incredible.
But I always say, even in my program, you're never one day short. You're never one day short to change your mindset, to take an opportunity, to step out of your comfort zone and to take those chances and take those opportunities. So I wouldn't be here speaking to you. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to speak to as many people as I'm speaking to if I didn't take this one opportunity.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful every day that I did it, and it was challenging. I was fearful. I was angry at times, but those are all the things that you go through to see the end line.
Mhm. So close to $1 million.
In fact, I even said that in my exit interview. I said, so close, but so far away.
You probably had it all spent in your mind.
I was like, I'm going to do this and this and this.
Now, I don't know if you knew that I was on America's Funniest Home Videos 4 years ago, and when in the first call was, well, funny like you thought it was someone playing a joke. I was actually at the hospital. My stepdad was in ICU in a coma, and so we were in this room, and I get the call, Los Angeles, and it's like, and so I decided to take it, and then they said, "Oh, this is so and so from America's Funniest Home Videos," and I thought, is this for real? Because I had sent in a blooper like 3 or 4 months prior and I forgot about it. And then she said, we just want you to know that, you are in the running and you want a t-shirt. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I'm looking at my family who's, got their heads down like, is Ron going to pass away? And he did come out of the coma, by the way.
Good.
And so that's how I found out. And then I was on my way to do a program and I get the call that I'm in the top 3 and I'm guaranteed $3,000 or $2,000 because third place is $2,000. But you could go on to be in the finale of winning. What was it, 100,000 and Disney and all this. And I was already planning all the people who I was going to have go with me. And then, of course, we knew what the outcome was before it was aired, like you knew. And I did win the third place. So I did win $2,000, which,
That's
and it was such a fun experience. Nothing like what you did, but yeah, it was, when you're that close. And I
yeah.
know what it feels like when the people are on the Academy Awards, when the camera's on them and they announce and you still got to go like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's that's my reality.
Awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That
you can.
show.
Yeah,
I have
you
friends.
can actually watch the clip if you go to my YouTube channel, and it's
Okay.
the clip is there. But anyway, we're gonna end with a fun question.
Okay.
So, in the last, let's say, 6 months, is there a favorite movie or a book or a gadget or all three, whichever, that you've watched, read, or purchased in the last 6 months?
Well, the last 6 months, I just finished it. I read Mel Robbins' Let Them book. And so if anybody has the opportunity to read that book, please do. And I remember Mel Robbins being in Fargo and she got ill and they called me and asked me if I would fill in. And I went, "What? I am not Mel Robbins." I mean, she's fantastic. She is my hero. I love listening to her. I love reading her book. So I just finished that book. I try to take time every night and sit and read. So I would have to say Let Them by Mel Robbins. That's my go-to book. I even took my highlighter and I did some highlighting in that book. So if you get the opportunity, it's a wonderful book. There's
All
so
right.
many things I could say right now. I've been watching Netflix here and there. I actually took some time off from the stage. I took a
Yeah.
6-week break. I just needed some time for myself.
Yes.
And I've been trying to walk more. I've been doing way more golf than I ever thought I would. So that's been kind of a good experience for me, is just taking some time to myself. So it's really not about the movie. It's really not about the books. It's really not about the object. It's really about just taking time for myself too, as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you've been an amazing guest on my show. So thank you so much for being on the Energized Leader podcast.
And thank you so much for having me. You're a wonderful person. Thank you.
Thanks, Holly.